New York's own Rosemarie DeWitt became a well-known actress after appearing on AMC's Mad Men and for work on the stage, and now has the title role in the new Jonathan Demme movie, Rachel Getting Married. Good to see you.
Nice
when
to
Jonathan
see you.
Demme comes a-calling and says you'll play not just a member of the cast, but the title role, do you hesitate at all? Do you say, I'll do it?
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't hesitate at all, but it wasn't the title role at the time. He changed the title.
Oh, and that, well, when you heard it was going to be the title role, was that you I heard screaming with joy or what?
Yeah.
Your character has a lot of depth, and this is a movie, at first I thought it was going to be about, it's going to end in a wedding, and it's going to be a lot of chirpy dialogue, and not to be chauvinistic, but he filmed it in a style that was almost, I don't want to say reality TV, because I don't like most reality TV, but the movie had a different aura about it. When did you sense that?
He showed us a movie before we started called After the Wedding, a Susan Bierce film, and I thought, how odd that he's inspired by this movie with our very well-crafted, very well-built script. Because on the page, this was a movie that worked in a very conventional sense. And then he said, no, but this is sort of my leaping off point. And then he would never let us go behind the monitors. I'm like, well, can I see a little bit? Can I see? He's like, no. He just really encouraged us to just be in it. And in the beginning, it was hard to trust that was really the movie we were making, and then once we got in, it was so liberating. And
it felt a little different, though. There was a lot, a sense of reality, a sense of a lot of close-ups and long takes.
The rehearsal dinner scenes were, the takes were 45 minutes long.
Ah, that's where stage acting comes in, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of actors who are in films have never been on the stage and might have had trouble with that. Hitchcock filmed Rope without any changes at all. There were long scenes, and he would shoot until the camera ran out, and then close up on the back of somebody's suit, and then reload the camera and just do it that way. And there are no cutaways either. So
I always feel like it's a luxury, when we get to shoot that way, when there's no break, when you have to sustain that without a net. Under a safety net.
Well, most of your films are ahead of you, not behind you, at this stage of your life and your career.
That's good.
Yeah, sure it is. We'll get to those in a minute. But you feel you're getting the knack of film acting, and you miss some of the things about stage acting that you like.
Well, I go back and forth. I went back and did a play this summer, and they're different muscles, especially in terms of sustaining that.
And projection and all that. Right?
All of it, yeah. I felt like I was yelling across a football field because you get used to keeping it in. But I felt, more than anything I've done in front of the camera, this was most like the theater, because everybody was firing on all cylinders all the time, because you never knew where the camera was. I think it's such an exciting way to work.
Now, your grandfather was James J. Braddock, heavyweight champion of the world. You were in Cinderella Man. Maybe because you were the granddaughter, but also because you're an actress who was right for the role. Now, my dad knew your grandfather. In fact, I came across a letter your grandfather sent to my father, and thanking him for something, and the stationery said, James J. Braddock, heavyweight champion of the world, and it was dated about 10 years after he had lost the title, for the right. But I guess it's like you, Mr. President, or senators or a governor, no matter when, right?
He just never got new or he never used the stationery from 10 years earlier.
Maybe
I can't. I would say I wouldn't imagine writing a lot of letters, although he did. He was a letter writer.
Yeah. Would you forgive me if I ever have to sell that for a sports memorabilia?
No. Sell it.
What kind of memorabilia of him do you have?
We have loads. I mean, he had he was my maternal grandfather, so my mom has more of my grandmother's jewelry type things in our
sell it at a sports auction. No.
But we do have his boxing trunks. We have a pair of purple satin boxing trunks with a green shamrock.
Right.
We have loads of stuff like that. Some trophies, lots of pictures with the joke when I was growing up was because my father grew up in the same town with my mom, so he always idolized my grandfather, and he would hang all the pictures. My mother was so humble about it, and don't tell people who he is, but my father had every, the picture with him and Joe DiMaggio, the picture with him and Brando, whomever it was. It wasn't Brando, actually. And hung them everywhere, and all my friends would be like, "Oh, I want to come over to your basement so I can hang out with all the people," because it was silly.
Now, did they give you casting approval of Russell Crowe as the? As your grandfather?
Right. No, but it's so interesting. He was so beautiful in that movie, and I feel like Russell Crowe, he has such a big presence, and my grandfather was a big man, but such a humble man, like a quiet.
Yeah, but it must have been weird for you to be in
Russell really pulled that off, and I thought,
did.
wow, that's when he sealed the deal for me as an actor, when I thought that's such a subtle thing to be able to convey.
But did you know just how poor your grandfather was until you saw the movie?
No, I think that, because again, it's the things that your family tends to focus on. After you live through the Great Depression, you focus on the successes. I mean,
Right.
you know what it cost you, but you focus on, we got out and we have a house and they
Right.
worked really hard for the house.
Let's hope we won't get that experience again soon in
right?
coming
It's
days.
weird we're having this
Do
conversation.
people walk up to you and say, "Oh, Mad Men, what happened to this kid?" And they know everything that goes on the show? Because the acting style on that is, at some points, very laid back and
Yeah.
very stoic. And I noticed some of the men have, like, you know, it's what, the early 60s, they have like a little handkerchief here, and the lapels are narrow and all that, and the women
Yeah.
have the hair a certain way. And the acting style is very, very laid back.
Yeah.
Is that something that you found difficult to get into, or?
No, I feel like the writing on that show is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Weiner knows exactly what he wants, which is a different kind of liberating than what I was talking about with Jonathan, which was just free and go play. Matt knows what he wants. So I think everyone just has to leap onto the train, like just get on that, just ride the wave of the language and not put too much spin on it, like not do too much. And I just watched it last night, the current episode, and they do it so well now.
You have a scene in this movie when you're talking to your sister, and she is somebody who's been in rehab for a
Yeah.
long time, and you've really got to get a rapprochement with her and saying, it's not about you, it's about me. And that happens, and certain rivalries spring up, and it happens in this movie in such a natural way, you know. And did you feel that you could almost ad-lib it seemed so realistic?
Yeah, it just worked. I mean, Anne
Hathaway. Right?
Anne Hathaway. She was living inside that role, I think, for a year. She had been cast a year before. So she came out of the gate with all this this just neediness and pain, and it was easy to just make it about her. You know, not as a person, but as that character. She just kind of walked onto the set and was like right there with all her wounds. And then it was constantly, Rachel was plugging herself in. And it was exhausting to be taking care of someone like that.
It's good to see Deborah Winger acting again. I mean, she made one or two movies in the past 10 years. She was a huge star in the early 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah.
And now she's playing mother roles, making me feel a little older even. And there's a scene where you have this reunion at the end of the film. I won't give it away, but it's a bittersweet moment too. And you have to act with your eyes a lot. It's when your mother leaves with her new male friend leaves your wedding, and you've got to say a lot without dialogue.
That's one of my favorite scenes. And I think leading up to, it's funny, you go into the movie with all these preconceived notions. I remember thinking, like, I'm Bill Irwin's daughter. You know, I'm like the Paul character's daughter. And then I did the scene with Deborah in the bedroom, just the two-person. I'm like, oh no, this is my mom. And then it's the fight to get her to be your mom, which she really doesn't want to engage in so much.
Do you think the fact that Jonathan Demme has made documentaries as well as feature films helped in the making of this film because it looks so realistic?
I think he just fell in love with the truth, like you talked about, the realism of documentaries, and the fact that he was able to bring it to a narrative piece was such a success.
This is Rosemarie DeWitt, granddaughter of the heavyweight champion of the world and the title player of Rachel Getting Married. And it is a film for a lot of people to see. It's not only about a wedding, it's about interpersonal relationships, and it's full of fine performances. Continued success.
Thanks so much.